the best you can cast. Take it away. Take it
Thank you, Apollo.
Take it away.
I'm taking it right now. Let's do it in control. Let's cast this game. We're already in it because Nathanius's opinions take this long. Let's go ahead and jump into this game, guys, and see who's going to take down this series on Merry-Go-Round, our first map.
Yes.
Let's go into the game.
Into the game.
All right, here we are in Merry-Go-Round, down at the bottom of the map. Even though with this camera angle, it looks like the left-hand side of the map. It's not, it's the bottom of the map. This is ForGG.
Still a part of that Team Millennium, and it has been announced he will be participating in the European WCS.
Pretty awesome to hear.
Good news for him.
Indeed.
His opponent, the Blue Protoss from Team My Insanity, up in the top right-hand side, it's Stardust.
All right, so we didn't really do predictions here in control. Who do you actually think is going to win this? This is actually, it feels like a pretty hard one.
I absolutely agree with you. I think it's very close. I don't know if it's some kind of bias or something like that, but I do feel like we've seen better and stronger results from Stardust in recent history. So, yeah, in my opinion, on paper, he's the better here. And honestly, I really just haven't seen much from ForGG in a long time. And I know we've been saying that a lot, but it's true. I really haven't seen anything from him.
Yeah. I mean, he obviously did well enough at a Dreamhack this year to get here. I believe it was Stockholm, right? He made the top 4 at, if I recall correctly.
He's always been great, but
yeah,
that's what's interesting about Dreamhack winners. It's a long year. Some of these guys get really good. They choose that moment to peak, and then later in the year, it's not that they fall off. It's just that other people have chosen that moment to peak even harder.
Yeah.
And this is Proxy Oracle, almost every time.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. It's actually a nice build in PvT, as you said.
Yeah.
An Oracle is a pretty useful unit.
Oh my God, this Reaper actually.
Yeah, I think he's gonna find it.
Is he just gonna slam right past it? So you know who I blame for this?
Who?
I blame Stardust, because he put this pylon in a spot where if you do scout mid-left, which is what you would do, you'll run into this every single time with this Reaper. So it's just not a good spot for that.
And look at how based Stardust is right now. He's like, well, I don't really care.
You say based, but I mean, I agree. And this Stalker, yeah, second probe has to come out because that pylon will not, it won't stand. This pylon will not stand.
He's not going to get the Oracle out off of that pylon. I'm actually confused that he started the Star game. Like, I see the probes coming, like a probe coming down the map. I don't think that works either. Like,
yeah, what happens is this pylon dies. He makes a second one, probably loses that probe as well. Stalker chases off the Reaper,
and then he gets an Oracle.
And then Oracle comes out delayed.
Guess what's going to happen? He's going to have. It would have been funny if he chronoed that before, too. He's going to actually have defense up because, I mean, when the Reaper's already there and you start the Stargate, there's going to be an Oracle. This is not a fake. There's going to be an Oracle coming out of here.
No, and even when it's scouted, it's bad enough. I feel like that's a scenario where the Stargate's going to have a tough time producing results. But now with the first pylon dying, a second one, now we're kind of compounding on that problem. And here, this is the caster curse. I tell you, he never does this kind of stuff, and then the next game is like, well, you're an idiot.
That is the life of a caster in control. It's a hard one.
Do you know something about that, I suppose? Marines making their way out here, but this is a land of Stalkers. He now sees there's no natural. He sees a Stalker even in the main. He's got enough info, I feel like, to know that he's about to get all in, but look at how brazen he is. There is an Oracle out here, and this is where it could get some damage in.
Well, he's going to force a cancel here. This is like the most obvious thing I've ever seen. I feel like bunkers should just start being mid.
Yes.
Like, if he leaves a turret in his main mineral line and makes, I don't know, 3 bunkers at his natural, the game ends, right?
There's 2 Oracles out. He's going to try to shoot the pylon, but of course can't finish that. These Marines die for free. They die for free.
Yeah, they literally killed nothing. They took some shields and energy away. Like, I'm surprised he did that. Why?
Yeah. Like the initial push out where he sees a Stalker both at home from the Reaper and outside his natural, that's intel enough. He's a good enough player to be like, I'm getting all in. Then he sees the pylon and runs past that as well. I don't know.
Well,
I guess he's trying to buy time, maybe. That's the only excuse I can make for him.
Come on.
I don't know. Well, what else is he doing?
No, I'm with you there. It's like very, very weird that he did that. But What if he had 8 more Marines here? I feel like he actually wouldn't even have to lift.
No.
Like, he could have made the bunkers at the natural and been mining, but here, like, Stardust has, you know, despite his all-in being scouted in a super late Nexus, he's going to be basically fine because he's going to contain for so long.
And 2 Oracles can actually tank a little bit of damage off the missile turret because the kill has to be so fast that, yeah, go ahead and get off 3 volleys into the Oracle, but in that time I've killed 5 or 6 SCVs. So look for that as an ongoing story, but the little shiny glimmer of hope that I have for ForGG in this opening is that he still does have that. Reaper, he gets down the ramp, the Sentry actually isn't paying attention, and he's gonna get at least the Sentry, the Mothership Core, and these Stalkers are cornered. This game just flipped on its head all of a sudden.
Look at this, like those Stalkers are not gonna get out of here. These are combat shield Space Marines, as you would call them, in control.
And the Oracle's gonna do what they can, but they have to actually avoid the main bulk of those Marines. The 2 Stalkers will get hunted down. GG is called out in Stardust. Okay, listen.
Yes,
we were not wrong, okay? He was way ahead.
Yeah.
And then something happened that I felt like only happened on the North American ladder. And that's where Terrans are like, you know what? I see that Sentry. I see that army.
Yeah.
I'm wagering you're not paying attention at this specific moment. And they just run down that ramp for the win. We saw TG do it earlier.
And like 4 Marines are at the bottom. It's like 6, 7 Marines are at the bottom. Then all the Marines die, you lose nothing, and you're like, well, I guess I'm way further ahead than I was a moment ago. That's pretty sick. Thanks, Terran player.
Exactly.
But, I guess that was one of the weirdest, sloppiest games.
Yes.
Probably that we'll see throughout the weekend.
I hope so, Artosis, because if we get deeper in this tournament and we see weird stuff like that, because it's on both sides. Like, ForGG at first is like, let's throw 8 Marines out there. Okay, I'm picking up on an all-in. You know what I'm going to do? I assume this all-in can get stopped by 8 Marines. No, that was silly. Throws them away. And then all of a sudden Stardust turns around where he's like way ahead, builds a Sentry, has Stalkers, and literally the Nexus being built inside his main, nothing's going on, so I don't know what he was looking at. And ForGG didn't make this complex. He didn't like have a Reaper harassing the main at the same time. It was just Marines walking down a ramp.
Yeah.
I have nothing.
I don't know. That's not a decision that I like to make personally. It's not a decision I like seeing pro gamers make, but this time it works out very, very well. I mean, the fact that he killed literally everything except for the 2 Oracles.
The argument to make on behalf of ForGG, because it looks really, like we said, it looks very amateurish almost, but I guess what he's saying is he's wagering, if I lose 5 or 6 Marines because of a good force field, okay, whatever. That's not going to lose me the game. If I get down to this ramp, I could potentially win that game, and as Stardust confirms for us, he does.
Yeah.
So it's on ForGG's side, it's like an okay-ish gamble from that perspective. I guess the disappointing part is that at this stage, you expect Stardust to get that force field. There's no other reason to have his army sitting there.
No, absolutely, but I also feel like if you have set this up, you already know, because he was so dedicated to doing this build, he already knows exactly when medevacs are actually going to be out. Like, you have a timer in your head as a Protoss player, like, okay, I know exactly how long I can sit here. And if you're doing a strategy like that, I feel like you are literally staring at the mini-map. In fact, like, your building placement should be messy because you're staring at the minimap, because the only thing in the whole universe that matters is getting that force field off. Because as long as you get the force field off, you're gaining an advantage non-stop. Whereas if you walk down the ramp and you didn't get the force field off, you lose the game.
Yeah, as we saw there. I mean, it might have been a little bit premature of Stardust to leave, but honestly, losing the 6 or 7 Stalkers, the Sentry, the Blockade, and with that completed orbital as well, it's not like Stardust was necessarily infinitely ahead at that point in time. He was building on an advantage. He needed there to be the second Nexus to finish. He needed those medevacs to come out and then to depart without having lost anything. And then we would talk about a giant Stardust lead. But with all that party coming crashing down around him, it was unfortunate. But that's just the first game. I think the nice thing for Stardust here is he's like, there's a banana in pajamas actually right there. You can't put a camera on him, but that is Dreamhack. You'll just have to take my word for it, and I'm sorry that
there was not a banana in pajamas there.
What was it?
You're so crazy.
You're lying.
There was nobody there at all.
That? Okay, well, there was. There was a banana in pajamas.
There's a wall right there, guys. I don't even know what's going on here. Oh, my God.
You're so funny, Artosis. The nice moment, I think, that you can give of reprieve as a weird way to put it, for Stardust is that was just game number 1. He had a close series with Solar, which is one of the favorites for the group. It is crunch time. You don't want to go down 0-2.
Yeah, you go down 0-2. You have to win your next 2 matches or you're out.
We saw some 2-2s get eliminated, I believe, in Group B. So it is crunch time a little bit, and ForGG is an opponent that he shouldn't be intimidated by that first game, is I guess what I'm trying to get at. In a very long-winded, stupid kind of way, but I think he says, okay, crap, I threw that away, but has some confidence going into this next game.
Sure. Well, it looks like our game is ready, guys. Let's go ahead, jump in. The next map going to be Foxtrot Labs. Kind of crazy map here, and let's take a look in the top right of our map from Millennium. Our Terran player winning that first game in a very sloppy fashion. It is ForGG.
I'll tell you, at the same time, he's like, I'll take it. I mean, when he was running down that ramp,
absolutely,
he hit the jackpot. He chose to peak at that time for that situation. It was amazing. His opponent needing to run this back as he is down 0-1 and 0-1 in the groups. It's My Insanity Stardust. What do you think of Foxtrot, by the way? We're seeing this quite a few times in these best of 3s. I feel like this is one of the maps everyone throws out because of the random factor, but here it is.
I actually don't thumbs this map down.
Okay.
Or I didn't before Dreampool took over. But the map is really weird, of course. It plays out very weirdly, but I think it's actually like a fun map. It's one of the more entertaining maps to watch. I think we get a lot of great games on it.
Yeah.
So I'm happy that these guys are playing here, and I think it's like the onus is on the Protoss to eliminate it, but Stardust has enough different weird styles that he can actually eliminate another map because, you know, he's probably looking at Nimbus and Catalina's 2 maps you do not want to play ForGG on.
Right.
So he's like, you know what, screw it, I can do something weird here, that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, especially in the PvT matchup, as far as this map goes, you can take a third without running the risk of just getting dropped forever and then counterattacked. Like, looking at ForGG's position, you can expand to the 6 o'clock, and that's fairly viable. You can take the more middle one, and yes, they can go past that and drop in the main, but even as far as that goes, like a Blink Stalker opening is not terrible here. We're going to have some kind of decisive tech. We'll have to wait in a second for Stardust. This is proxy something. The positioning has me thinking like even Blink or DT.
Yeah, that's definitely what it looks like. I can tell you one thing, that's not going to be a Robo.
No. Dude, I was hyped up on that earlier, though. That build is out the window. We haven't seen that as much, but Proxy Robo right outside the Terran's base and just go for an Immortal push?
Yeah.
It's super risky, of
Do
course.
you remember the Proxy, like, 1 Colossus push?
Yes.
Yeah, that was a build.
Myung6 doing even a no-range 1 or 2 Colossus timing attack with 6 gates.
I did see this. Yeah.
It's really cool.
It's
at like 9 or 8 minutes even. It's super fast. Very nice. Yeah, there's the Twilight Council. If it was going to be Stargate, I feel like that would be closer to the opponent's side of the map. And Stardust, I mean, game 1, Proxy Oracle, found immediately, stubbornly sticks with it, and actually kind of makes it work. Game 2, Proxy Twilight Council, and this is going to be, is it DT or Blink?
I think it'll be Blink.
Yeah, it's got to be Blink.
You know, the thing is, if you want to go Blink before your expansion, you just can't stop the DT from getting in. You just cannot do it, so you have to hide it. And the thing is, though, if the Reaper didn't actually go and check anything, he checked, okay, no natural, so he's just immediately going around, because if you don't have your natural, by the time the Reaper gets there, it's a 2 gas build. So you know it's tech. It's as simple as that. There's nothing else it could be.
And the metagame right now in PvT and PvP is very much so in this direction. So this is kind of the thing to keep your eyes on, ladies and gentlemen. Like, as time goes on, Terrans are starting to cut those little corners, and they're picking up on this stuff. And right now, the kind of crazy coin flip that's occurring is he knows it's a tech, but it is either Proxy Oracle or it's Proxy Blink, typically speaking. And both of those require very different responses. So it's kind of, you know, we've been talking a lot about the Protoss side of this, but for the Terran, it's a little bit, you know, we used the term earlier, you got Protoss. This is kind of what they're talking about. It's like, well, I prepared for Proxy Oracle because that's what he did game number 1, and then all of a sudden 10 Blink Stalkers. And you just leave. You're out of the game. You're done.
But he's like kind of preparing. Okay, he sees a couple Stalkers. That doesn't actually give it away. You know, I'd be leaning right now as ForGG towards, okay, this looks like it's a Blink build at least, but he has to prepare for the Oracle, of course, because that's the quick one that'll end the game.
The bunker in the main tells me he was thinking Oracle. But like you said, it does have that nice dynamic. Now there's the bunker on the high ground. This is him saying, blink. But what's so crazy about this is look at ForGG kind of chase it goes. He lands correctly, and like we said, the kind of pathway of logic is there. You know it's proxy something, and the Oracle hasn't showed up now, so it is going to be blink. He knows that. But he doesn't know if there's an expansion behind it. That's exactly what the Reaper's going to confirm here, so he's good to know.
Yeah.
ForGG's playing this really well, by the way. It's worth mentioning.
Yeah, he's completely aware of what's going on. In fact, I think this is a lot better because than the last game because he hasn't sent out 8 Marines to die for free. So he's definitely going to be in much better shape when this actually comes. But the thing is, no matter how hard you prepare for this, if Terran makes one misstep and Protoss plays really well with it, which I think Stardust is capable of doing, it still can go to Protoss, absolutely.
Yeah, it's not like once you kind of initially set up the defense, you win. We've seen the Protoss players carry the game on from here. Again, we could see that sentry at the base of the ramp locking him up until medevacs.
Yeah.
Sometimes they just don't expand. They actually make 35 stalkers, kind of MC style, and here we can go. He gets up here. It's not spotted yet, so he lets the blink cooldown kind of go. No stim just yet. It's critically seconds away.
He's sensing it. He's sensing it. He's checking. Okay, the time warp he forces actually that was pretty worthwhile. Losing 2 Marines, 3 Marines for a time warp. That's not too bad. Yeah, but here we go. He's gonna have to pull his SCVs up here, pushing forward against these stalkers.
I don't know. I actually don't like this move. He's pushing against those stalkers in a non-critical spot. Like there's no reason to defend this corner. Wait until they get inside your infrastructure to do that kind of pull. But ForGG just wants him out. He was looking for more of a kind of a hit against the stalkers. He didn't get it. There's a lot of stalkers here. Stim just now finished, and even +1 closing up. So ForGG has some tools coming in, but he's not there yet.
Yeah, he's actually not waiting for any of this. I don't know what this is truly accomplishing. I guess he has killed a stalker at this point. He's dealing some damage to some of these, but the micro of Stardust is true.
I really don't like his choice to fight here. I just don't get it. Like, if a tech lab was in danger, if the starport was getting hit, something, sure. But time is on ForGG's side. As time goes on, more units come out. +1 finishes, combat shield now being started. He's the one that has the better economy and has time on his side, but here it is. And Stardust has such a huge smash of stalkers, and the units for ForGG, they're just not there yet.
Yeah, I mean, he's already lost a lot of units. He's actually stimming now. He's not even using SCVs. There's no way he's going to win this battle.
Oh. Actually, almost a cute little blink stalker micro, but unfortunately it drags it into the stalkers. Just not enough damage done, though. Now the SCVs get pulled. There's like 6 Marines out. They stim. That's not going to do it, and I'll tell you what, Stardust is happy with these results. Excuse me. There's the second time stop, and this is just game-ending damage. It's going to be a GG here in a minute.
I feel like he started dealing with this so well, but as soon as he committed over there, as you said, it was before stim, it was before +1. He committed twice into the stalkers, and that is like, well, like we were saying, if Terran makes one misstep, they still lose to this, even though they know it's coming, and that's what he did. I mean, ForGG has no one to blame but himself. He had all the information in the whole world.
I'll tell you, Artosis, we were talking about this being kind of a sloppy series, and game number 2 is
sloppy
more
seconds
sloppy.
right there.
It really is. And if you're the other guys looking in on this, you're kind of chomping at the bit. Stardust lost that first series of Solar. This is the first time we've seen ForGG play, and there's a lot more StarCraft to be played, but this will not overcome some of the competition that they have. It really won't.
Absolutely not. I'm actually really surprised because they're both like really fantastic players, but I gotta say I'm not impressed by this series so far. I think that this is some subpar play from both of them. They're both much better than this.
I think it's fair to say. It is the first game, well, for ForGG, it's the first series of the day. Solar coming off a perhaps emotional loss where he was up 1-0 and then lost 0-2. That's kind of devastating to deal with. So there's excuses abound floating around. That all rhymes. It kind of threw my brain.
Could this be like ForGG hasn't really had the best year for him, right? I mean, he didn't make it to BlizzCon. He's
not the best.
I mean, he made a top 4 to DreamHack, sure, but here he is. This is the big stage of the year for him. Is he like feeling the extra pressure right now? I mean, this is an old Star League champion from StarCraft 1. I don't expect him to be panicking or playing poorly, but we see him playing a bit off from what we would expect.
Yeah, of course it's just us speculating, but I think there is something to that. We talked a lot about how this is the dynamic time where we're just before Legacy of the Void, and a lot of people are kind of figuring out where they're going to be. I guess the mark against that would be that he, like we said, he just got the good news that he's going to stay in Europe and compete in WCS. That was kind of a scary thing. When that was announced at BlizzCon, a person made a thread on Reddit, actually. It was really interesting. They're like, the person most screwed by this is ForGG, because He relocated his whole life to Europe. He's been working very hard to be better here, and has just started to kind of reap the rewards of that investment, really. And then all of a sudden it's like, nope, you got to go back to the Lion's Den. But he is going to stay. As far as speculation, I think that's as far as we can go. And again, we don't want to be too severe. It is just a best of 3, and it's the first one, so maybe that cold's affecting his hands. Who knows? I
always say to myself, first game doesn't count. You know, it's like you just are warming up. You don't have your rhythm yet. But he's making bad choices. He's going out with 8 Marines against an all-in from Protoss. Like,
that he knows.
He sees the Blink Stalkers' main. Stim and +1 are about to finish. He pulls SCVs and attacks with his Marines. Like, what are these moves that we're seeing from him?
Yeah, it's uncharacteristic of him. Hopefully he'll clean it up. He did pull out the win in that first game. I think that's kind of the funny thing about ForGG is, like, we're still like, oh man, such sloppy play. And honestly, it's been on both sides, but it is still 1-1. So if it is a slop fest, could come down to who's going to make the last mistake.
Yeah. Well, it looks like our game is ready. The third map going to be Deadwing. And this definitely could go longer, this game in control. Up in the top right. Going 1-1 so far, showing some sloppy play. It is Millennium's ForGG.
And his opponent's running it back off the back of some solid Blink Stalker play in game number 2. It is My Insanity's Stardust. 2 cheesy openings from Stardust to kind of, again, throw me under that proverbial bus at the beginning where I was like, this guy's super straight up all the time now. And then very cheesy. But that's, I got to say, that is also very much so the meta right now. Proxy Oracle is taking over PvT. And it's funny because, you know, when we first went to HOTS, that was like the first thing MC did at that MLG. I remember that. And then every Protoss after that's like, wow, Oracles are incredible. And they are. But they kind of went away because all of the Terran builds started to kind of naturally take that into account. Things like 6 Marines in the mineral lines, even opening up Engineering Bay and throwing a solitary missile turret in one of the mineral lines. And all of a sudden you're not getting the same results. It's shifted back to that because Protoss have kind of re-emphasized the micro of the Oracle and finding that, yes, if there is that missile turret or even Marines, you'll still find results.
Yeah, it's the Oracle is just such a powerful unit. It gives you so much scouting potential, harassment potential. It dictates so much of the Terran's play, so you're very right about that. Like, going Oracle is nice, and especially on some of these maps, we've seen even the rise of Phoenixes following the Oracle sometimes, depending on what map you're on, what strategy you want to use.
Yep, and we do see here Artosis. This is not a weird scout. This is, in fact, going to be another proxy, and with these positions, I feel like it's going to be Blink again.
Yeah, I think that you're probably right, but he hasn't scouted anything. It could, in fact, be Oracle.
Oh, wow.
I mean, we'll see, but I do side with Blink here.
Yeah, if you look at the natural, it's kind of wide open. There is a choke area, of course, leading into that CC area. But blinking into the main is much more doable here, and then there's wide open space to kind of kite backwards against the slow-moving Marines. And I'll tell you what, if I'm Stardust and I saw how ForGG reacted in that game number 2, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'm like, yeah, if you're going to pull SCVs pre-stim and just kind of without support, I'll go for it.
It seemed like he was playing against a player that just doesn't know how to play against a Blink all-in. So I'm actually, I like what you said there. He's saying that was such a weak defense, that was such a poor defense. I'll just do it again because, like, it's actually... It's hard to deal with it worse. It was like the anti-way to deal with it that ForGG did. So.
Yeah. We see ForGG scouting out here at the Reaper. At first, my brow furrowed because I was like, well, you got to know he can't spawn top left. And if you did think that it was possible, there's some serious issues. But he's just checking for proxies.
Yeah, that would have been a Stargate location. It would have been a fine one indeed.
It's very common. He's going to pull into the main, and he's going to see exactly what Artosis talked about in game number 2, which is, okay, you got both your gases. This means you are teching. And again, knowing his opponent, knowing the scene right now, he's probably assuming it's proxy something. But that brings us to that problem. Is it Oracle or is it Blink Stalkers?
Well, he may end up finding it. We'll see. His Reaper's starting to get within the vicinity of where it is. But in fact, I just kind of run around trying to gain health. I guess he wants to do a second pass at the main base.
He's going to pass into the main. Unfortunately, he will run across that Stalker, but it shouldn't be enough to actually kill the Reaper. Well, he's going to pull back into the main and then actually die. Yeah.
Oh. He should have tried to get it into the probes because that's the only place a Reaper is actually invincible is within the probe line itself. I'm sure you know
so.
exactly what I mean in Control.
My God.
It's that great. It's better than killing probes. They lose so much mining time trying to kill it.
Yeah, it happens. So far, we're not seeing much in the way of a sign. Well, here's the big deal. ForGG is actually not really mining off that natural. That's the first indication that he knows something is amiss. He will, of course, still build SCVs, and he doesn't want to relocate it just yet. He's not in danger of, like, all of a sudden 30 stalkers just picking it off. It'll be like 5, and you can float it away. Bunker going down at the top of the ramp. This is indication that he knows what's up.
Yeah, it seems like he is quite aware of the timing of this and whatnot. He is getting the concussive shells, a very quick upgrade that you can get, and of course going to be hard for those stalkers to kite against it, but Blink a good answer to it.
Something out on the map. There's an SCV, and this is actually a big deal because there's a couple different varieties of this all in. And actually, as I say that, the Marines are coming down the ramp. They're going to challenge the Stalker. They want to push it off. He's actually going to get a Stalker pre-blink. Oh, with the concussive shell, he could have got a second one, but he's just going to back away. He kind of respects this.
Oh, wow.
Stardust just throwing the Stalker and the probe away.
Wow.
I do not understand that. And
that was really great for ForGG.
It really was. And it was it great for ForGG or was it really poopy for Stardust?
It was absolutely both in Control. That's what this series has been so far, to be perfectly frank about it.
It kind of is. And now the Mothership Core shows itself, of course, at this point in time, and with the natural being scouted somewhat, ForGG knows he's not facing an expansion. This march across the map, knowing there's Blink Stalkers out there, it's weirding me out.
As Blink finishes, even though you got to kill 2 Stalkers, if he does like 2 rounds, he can kill this army.
Yeah, and he doesn't have Stim. Like, if he had Stim right now, this whole movement makes sense. He's at the top of the ramp. He knows there's no natural there. So his journey is to the mineral line, I guess.
Well, I guess he just sees how many kills he can get. If he could get the Mothership Core, that's nice. The Marauders obviously can be worth quite a bit of damage here. He does kill another Stalker, but at the end of the day, that trade went better for Stardust. Stardust still has an army. He still has his Mothership Core. The Mothership Core is one of the big things that if you can snipe it, that's fantastic because it can't blink in so easily, but he didn't even get that.
And there are 2 bunkers at the top of that ramp. That's a bit redundant as well. I mean, I feel like I'm being overly critical, but even just with the 1 bunker, that's a hard crack. He has to know he's going to go elsewhere. ForGG, if anything, did earn himself time. Stim is closing up. He does have the concussive shell, of course, and a bunker at the top of that ramp as well. So he's going to be difficult to be aggressive against, I feel. And he actually even has a scout on the map. I don't know if Stardust has picked that up, but if that can go see that there's no natural and just kind of park there, ForGG can adjust accordingly. He can wait till medevacs. If not, that misinformation or lack of information, it can favor Stardust because then he can expand behind them.
Well, the SCV checking everything out.
Yeah.
Some great scouting going down. A lot of Stalkers down here. I think he just has to build a Nexus. Like, I would never want to try to break this ramp. Like, you've already seen multiple Marauders. You did lose a lot of Stalkers. I feel like just kind of sitting here for a little bit is good. But against 2 bunkers, well, he blinks right up and 2 shots the bunker. You're going to go ahead and kill the other bunker as well. But absolutely not a good attack
no, there. And I mean, he kills the bunkers immediately, but he kills like no actual attack units. He gets a full army stim, so there's not much in the way of more of that. But I feel like, and there's the time stops who's really going to go after this, fighting from that low ground. He's getting a decent number of Marines dead. And again, keep in mind, ForGG has to be very careful about his stimming right here because this is pre-combat shield, no medevacs out. And if ForGG can just hold on a little bit longer, those bunkers are about to finish. He still has that bunker over here by the, and that's call it the high ground, I guess.
This is a great bunker indeed. If he blinks up right here, then he's just going to lose everything.
He's thinking about it.
He has to just make a Nexus. The medevacs are going to be out very shortly here. He has no kill time. And look at the armies. It's just ForGG crushes. I think the best he can do right now is do a light contain, poke a bit, but make that Nexus.
Really strange. And again, we've seen MC do some weird stuff like this where he just kind of keeps making Stalkers, but that's MC, and he kind of
MC's a different beast.
Yeah, he just is. And if you try to emulate it, he ends up looking like this, I feel like. He's looking over here. He might actually blink to the right where there is no bunker. I believe that is just a depot. Yeah, he's thinking about it.
There's 2 medevacs out in control. Combat ship's about to finish.
There's a 3rd and 4th coming too.
He's got a bunch of Marauders. His supply is huge. There's no way these Stalkers can win this game right now.
This is so strange. Behind this, no second Nexus. There's no Robo or something. I mean, that would be bad too. There's just more Stalkers coming out. He's going to try to attempt this high ground as well. And as Artosis said, we had 2 Medivacs out. I believe we're up to 3 and 4 now. And the Bioforce continues to grow. You'll notice the supply is just kind of holding pattern at just better for ForGG.
You know what he's doing right now in Control? I don't know if you... recently there was a game on Foxtrot at PVT. I want to say it was played by San, but my memory may be betraying me here. But he just like kept making Blink Stalkers and just did the contain. And eventually the Terran was trying to get out, and he like somehow won. It was like a very strange game. It did not go the way it looked like it should have, but it was like all one-base play. I feel like that's what he's doing here. He's saying, okay, I'm not actually going to, never mind, he is actually going to do it. And that's a pretty big stim, but he should be lifting this command, so he should be getting an arc. So many of his units not attacking.
Yeah, he actually bottlenecked himself, but I don't think it's actually enough anyways. He stims forward. He's just got so many Marines and Marauders at this point in time, and 3 Medivacs here. Notice how I said 3. That's because a 4th one's approaching Stardust base, and oh yeah, he lost the Mothership Core. Well, never mind, it's just a single Widow Mine, but he's gonna do some pretty good economic harm right there. He did not lose the Mothership Core either. It's right there. But you can't go on the high ground.
No, you can't really do anything here, and he realizes that he just blinks forward.
I guess you can.
Kind of gives up
and this
at
is what
this
happens.
point. GG. And that will undoubtedly go down as the worst series of the tournament, I think. Like, I hate to be so tough on it.
Me too.
But to be frank, that is not the level of these players. Both these players are far better than what we saw. But, you know, sometimes this happens when you have 2 great players. They force each other into these really weird mind game, messy situations, and, you know, yakety sax occurs.
And they both kind of took us there. Like, you know, ForGG definitely has a clear style, and Apollo and Nathanius talked about that beforehand. One of the players you could study up on. But Stardust, who, again, I stick to my guns here, he has been very straight up going into this series. With this series, he kind of had it in his head. He's like, no, I'm going to open up with the meta. I'm going to go proxy everything. And when you do that, the follow-up has been also this one-base stuff that we're seeing. Every one decision you make becomes the entire game. And I feel like him blinking to the high ground to kill 2 bunkers, but then losing 5 or 6 Stalkers, that was weird. ForGG pushing out across the map, losing his whole force, that too could have triggered something in Star's head where he's like, well, you just lost 4 Marauders and like 10 Marines. Maybe I can all in and win now. Weird stuff like that has bigger impact because they're making such weird choices in openings.
That's true. It's like an area where you don't get to explore it very often. You know, it's not like a standard mid-game where you played it thousands of times this latter season. This is more of this weird situation like, I've never quite had this set of things happen in the early game that much, so maybe I can break him.
Yeah, we give him the benefit of the doubt, I think. We were pretty down on some of the decisions, but of course, we are not playing for over $75,000 prize pool. We're not playing Dreamhack winner where every decision is against another champion, something really good. Guys, Apollo, Nathanius, what did you think of that series?
Pretty wild. I was not really excited by the super aggressive play from Stardust. I really felt like he could have shown a much better late game if he played for some more economic builds. And ForGG caught quite a few breaks as well with how some of the openers panned out.
I think Stardust may be a little bit lost in this matchup recent times because he's switching between 2 very drastic styles. I think it's also one of his key strengths as a player too, but he's usually mixing that throughout a series. Like he'd play a normal game, then he'd switch it up completely and then catch you off guard. And that's kind of what we're used to seeing Stardust play, but in the last month or so, it seems like he's playing completely standard throughout the entire series or completely the opposite, and he's kind of maybe struggling a little bit to mix the both, and maybe he's having trouble in general in this matchup.
I think that's something very astute to point out because that definitely happens. One of the terms that Moonglade used earlier was tunnel vision, and players can kind of fall into that trap. Like ForGG is known for being hyper aggressive, and one of the prevailing thoughts is, well, if I'm facing someone really aggressive, I can get behind him. I can get a strategy where I'm being aggressive too, strike that decisive blow, and then win the game. But ForGG was aggressive, like in his own little way, but was having to defend against Stardust aggression.
ForGG is actually he's kind of well known for losing games very early against Zergan Protoss too. So I think it was a very clear decision from Stardust entering this series that he was going to exploit that no matter what, and no matter how the series planned out. He was going to win this game fast and early, but unfortunately it just didn't work.
All right, well, I'm excited to hear from ForGG because we've had a lot of thoughts, but Smix, I want you to pick his brain for us, please.
Well, it's time to do just that, Jeff. Congratulations, ForGG, on your victory over Stardust 2-1. My first question to you, were you surprised at all or were you prepared against Stardust's constant aggression all 3 games?
First game, I just play and Reaper going to search, but suddenly I found proxy filer and what the fuck is this? And I just very easy win. And second game, also Stardust don't have second base, and I guess proxy oracle, but one base blink stalker, so GG. And last game, I expect he something to proxy and also proxy one base blink stalker, and I just mixed some Mauder and GG, easy win.
Well, you just defeated 1 Protoss in your group, but you have 2 more, as well as a Zerg. How do you feel about your group, and when the groups were released, were you happy about it?
Sad because I like TBT, but last group D have only 3 Terra, and my group only Terra, only me, and 3 TOS. But my TBP, I think, is fine, so it's okay.
Well, last but not least, ForGG, how have you been lately, as we haven't really seen you in a long time? I know that recently there's been some really, really good news for you regarding WCS, so you can tell us about that.
I'm just no tournament, so just streaming, practice streaming, and suddenly I saw my Twitter 2 days ago. Blizzard, very good news, I think very good job. Very happy, and I'm really happy about it.
Well, I know most of your fans were extremely happy to hear the news, as well as you are one of the Koreans that have fully assimilated into the European culture. Congratulations again, ForGG. Good luck in the rest of your group. I believe we're headed back to the studio desk, where we are headed back to Sean.